No, Rich, we got to have the drapes. We got to have the
We're
drapes
about to
drama.
lose
The
the
drapes
drapes.
drama. We got to have the drapes drama. And we got to have this, man. Oh man.
How is this?
Yeah, that'll work.
Does this work?
What do you think, guys?
I can't see him.
Turn this light on.
Oh man. Oh, this is going
Let's
to be a
stand
great
by
show.
1 sec.
All
Yeah,
right.
I have a future in production and lighting. How's that?
Yeah, he's got
There you go.
future
All right.
in lighting, right?
Much better.
Okay.
Oh wow.
Hi, Eric. Hi, Jeff.
Hey, Rich.
All right,
How are
Rich.
ya?
As you can see, Jeff is in Toronto. Eric Schneller's in Indianapolis. You know those
Okay.
those NFC East cities, and you're
Sure.
you're in Denver. You know, but we're doing
Yep.
the NFC East, of course. So
Yeah, no, sounds good. I just got to grab my notes. I haven't met Jeff. I'm a big time Eric fan, though. I saw him on your podcast a few weeks back, and I follow him on Facebook. So I'll be right back.
Thank you, Rich. Feelings mutual.
Thank you.
Can you believe we get games on Thursday?
we got games coming, man. Games
Yeah.
are coming up. Yeah, for sure.
This is it.
All right.
Okay. So I'm going to be doing the New York Football Giants, and who's doing Philly? Who's doing Washington?
Well, everybody's doing everything, you know. But yeah, it'd be nice if you specialize. So that's fine. Okay.
Well, I thought that's what I was supposed to do with the Giants. That's all. I'm not, that's all I researched. So,
Okay. All right. Here we go.
all right.
Give me a second just to make sure this is going live, and then I'll count it down, and we'll get on the air. All right, you guys ready?
Ready.
All right. All right, 3, 2, and 1. Welcome to Slapshot, brought to you by Pointspreads.ca, which is sponsored by Spreads.ca, Canada's newest, friendliest, and most extensive sports wagering and online casino site. Before we begin talking about the NFC East today, some sad news. I'd like to spend a minute or two. I don't like to start the show on a downer, but I think it's worth our time to all give some thought to a gentleman that passed. He passed about a day ago. His name is Mike Sexton. Those of you who do not follow poker or don't watch the World Poker Tour or aren't part of that world, we're not fortunate like I was to have known Mike Sexton. And talk about a prince of a man who did enormous things for the game, for his friends, for everybody who came in contact with him. He's going to be missed. And I'm not sure I have any words that can express my sorrow, but also the joy for having known him for his 72 years. And he just passed away from cancer yesterday. So anyway, I don't like to start off on a downer, but he was a sports gambler. He was an adventurous spirit, and he certainly made my life and a lot of others' lives much better. Rich Corbin, I know you knew Mike Sexton. Tough news, huh?
Horrible news. It's sad indeed. Mike contributed so much to poker. I remember when he did the first $1 million event for Party Poker, and it was the event itself. They didn't meet their number as far as satisfying the entries to have the $1 million in prize money, but it was a huge success, and it paved the way for online poker tournaments. And Mike also did the Tournament of Champions, a live event, which I thought was just a fantastic event, highly acclaimed amongst the players. And I guess I'll just state the obvious in saying Mike is going to be missed.
Well, thank you for the kind words, and again, Mike Sexton has no equal, had no equal. He will be fondly remembered, and now fitting he passes away before the football season, and we'll be thinking him a lot during this 2020 season. So thank you, gentlemen, for remembering Mike with me, and we'll move on and talk about the NFC East today. This is the 7th show of 8. We've done one on each division. We do this every day at 4 o'clock Pacific time. We have 3 guests today. 2 of our guests are new, and Eric Schneller there, I think this is your 3rd occasion to come on the show. Let me introduce each of our guests here, if I may, and then we'll start talking some football. First, we have Jeff Gignac from Toronto, or the outskirts of Toronto. And as he's, look at that. Can you believe it? There's a Dallas Cowboy fan in Toronto. And as the Dallas Cowboys enter their 60th year, Jeff enters, he says, his 45th year as a Cowboy fan. He didn't get into football until the age of 5. To annoy his older brother, I'm reading what he wrote for me here, who was a Steeler fan. Jeff is an avid NFL fan, watcher, and a fantasy football champion. When he is not watching North America's team, he calls them North America's team, the Cowboys, or the other 240 games on his television. He's an avid gamer and can be found streaming Madden and Google Stadia games on his YouTube channel. So check out Jeff there on his YouTube channel, who does a lot of different things in sports gambling. And nice to have you with us, Jeff.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Glad to be here. Glad to talk Cowboys.
You told me you're going to be a little bit. You said an a-hole. You said, no, I said, there's no way you can be. There's no way you're going to be that. But I've never met a Dallas Cowboy fan that wasn't. So.
True.
Anyway.
Jerry insists. Part of the membership. Jerry insists.
Jerry insists. Well, Eric Schneller is from Indianapolis. Fortunately, I met him on Facebook, and he's come to a lot of poker events and got to be good friends with Eric. He's a Colts fan. He used to be a professional poker player, and a very successful businessman now. But, man, he just loves life and certainly loves gambling. And he said he's so good that the fans wrote in, and they said, we've got to have more Eric Schneller. So you've been on the show, sir, more than any other person now with your third appearance. Welcome, Eric Schneller.
Thank you, but I will have to raise that bluff. I don't believe that the public acclaim has quite been to the level that you're wanting it to be, but happy to be here again, Nolan. Thank you.
Well, I think it was the bill collectors and the IRS that were calling, but I'll just call them your fans, okay? They're rooting for you, Eric, to have a big year, okay?
Great. Big gambling year.
And then Rich Corbin, who I've known for at least 25 years or so, and one of my best friends, originally from New York City, the suburbs of New York. I could say so much about Rich here because he's been involved in so many different companies, ventures, knows everybody who's anybody in the gambling world. And Rich, I'm just going to go back to your history for a moment. I'm going to throw a curveball at you. What's the very first pro football game you went to? Do you remember?
I do. In the fall of 1966, I went to a New York Giant game, and the Giants were horrible that year. They had no defense, and it was a long season for them. But I do remember it. It was at Yankee Stadium, and it was special.
Well, those are credentials to talk about the NFC East. The fact that you went to a Yankee Stadium New York Giants game in 54 years ago. My very first NFL game was in the Cotton Bowl in Dallas in a playoff game in 1970. They played the Detroit Lions. This is a true story. They won 5-0. It was the first round of the 1970 NFL playoffs, NFC playoffs, first year of the merger. And I sat on the 10-yard line. I was 8 years old. And then I had season tickets through all the Tom Landry, Roger Staubach years. So I'm not a Cowboy fan now like my friend Jeff is. Actually, I can't stand the Cowboys unless I'm betting on them. But we're going to get into the teams now. But before I do, before we were on the air, Eric Schneller, you were bringing up a very good point. We were talking about fans, and some of the teams are going to have fans in the stands, and some are not. Now, give us the breaking news that you were telling us earlier.
Well, the Colts have decided they're going to allow, I think it's 6,000 people into the stadium. So I'm not sure how they're determining which 6,000. I don't know if all the concession stands will be open or only in one certain area, and how, I'm sure that they'll try and disperse everybody kind of equally around the stadium. But seems kind of like a silly concept to me, but maybe 6,000 people can make enough noise to matter and make it feel like a real game. Seems like an awful lot of effort for 6,000 people, but, it's nice for those 6,000, I guess.
Phil did approve some fan noise that they're going to give to all the teams to pump into the stadiums, right?
So it's like the other sports, they're going to turn it over the loudspeakers and have a kind of a scripted, they crank it up when they score a touchdown kind of a thing?
I guess, yeah.
What happened with the Cowboys? I thought they were going to allow 13,000 people in their games.
Well, they're going to let the governor has given permission for them to have fans in, as well as a few other cities. So, yeah, they'll have some fans in there. How they're going to disperse them, if it's just season ticket holders or how they're doing it, I'm not sure.
Okay.
All right, excellent. Well, so we'll see. I think this probably is a work in progress, and we'll see how it goes. They're probably going to start off, conservatively. You can always add fans in later if the COVID thing, is not a big a problem. But boy, they don't want to overdo it and let in too many people. Then all of a sudden have some kind of a catastrophe. So I understand the reason for caution. 4 teams in the NFC East now. We're going to talk about them: the Eagles, the Giants, the Cowboys, and the Washington football team, as they're now known, formerly the Redskins. We're going to take this not in any order of prediction, but rather we're just going to go alphabetically. And Jeff, we're going to start with you because you're, to be a Dallas Cowboy fan in Canada, that's really something. And the Dallas Cowboys there, let me move over so you can see. They're 9.5 in a lot of places, but at Spreads.ca, the Canadian betting website, the over and under is 10 wins. Give us your evaluation of the Cowboys, Jeff.
Well, we got a new coach, and so that's going to be interesting to see, over the last, decade or so with Jason Garrett, and, you can say what you wanted about him. We've always had the pieces, but there was always just something missing, right? Yes, we won the division a couple of times. Yes, we had a first round exit many times. It's a whole new coach. He brings in a whole new attitude. But with the COVID, how much time has he had with, installation, right? So there is some, now 3 of the 4 teams do have new coaches in our division. So we're all going to be in the same sort of boat. On paper, I think we have pound per pound the best team, right? If you look at our, we have arguably the best running back. Now we'll talk about the Giants, and under Jason Garrett, he is a run guy. So I think Saquon will have a good year in a Jason Garrett offense because Jason's always had good running backs, from Ezekiel to players before him. DeMarco Murray, right, led the league in rushing. Ezekiel's done it. So I think when we'll talk more about that when we get to the Giants. But, when we got 3 top receivers, there's only so many people you can cover, right? So we've got the new rookie that fell to us, CeeDee Lamb. If you're gonna put an 8th man or 9th man in the box to stop the run, well, now you've got it one-on-one with you got a corner or a safety on a wide receiver. Okay, fine. If you double somebody, now you're freeing up a hole for Ezekiel behind our now we're Lyle's gonna be out. We got, we lost Travis Frederick, and we're gonna have probably either Joe Looney or a rookie in there at center. So we're not gonna have the offensive line like we used to in a couple of years ago. And then on defense, we had a top 5 defense last year. Yes, Leighton got hurt. Sean Lee is going to start the year on IR. So I think we've got all the pieces. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think 10. I think I predicted us winning 12 or 13 games.
Wow.
Because I know we're going to win at least 5, if not all 6 games in our division. Sure, we might lose the last one if it's a meaningless game toward the end of the year when we've got, the fans in playing. But anyways, that's my 2 cents.
All right. Very optimistic report from Toronto from Jeff. I'm going to come back and ask you a few questions in a moment. Let's get around. Eric, what do you think about the Cowboys, especially that over under 10 wins?
Well, I had them at 10. I've got them at 10-6 this year. I go through the schedule and I pick every game, every team. So I had them at 10-6, winning the division. I think they've got the most former Pro Bowl players of any team in the NFL. I think they've got 15 Pro Bowl players, which is pretty darn good. They've got the same offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore. They led the league in offense last year. Hopefully he's gotten some of his red zone issues, figured out so that they don't bog down again. But I think they'll be good. I do think they're the class of the division by a little bit over the Eagles, but I think 12 or 13 wins is super optimistic. And, good luck to you, sir. But I don't think they're going to do that after their 8-8 last year.
All right. Rich?
I feel pretty much the same way as Eric does. I think 12 is optimistic. I think 10 is about right. They will win. They have easy 4 games against the Giants and the Washington football team twice. Okay, 2 games against each other. So there's 4 wins right there. The Philadelphia Eagles, they'll probably go 1-1. I disagree with the 6-0 prediction, but this is, in my opinion, the team, my personal most unfavored owner. So I find myself rooting against the Cowboys, whereas I used to like them. But I think 10-6 is about right. And it remains to be seen. I liked Jason Garrett, and I'm going to have some comments about him when we get to the New York Giants, because he is their offensive coordinator this year.
All right, so we'll come back to the Giants a little later. That's a really good point there. A couple of you guys made about Jason Garrett. Let me ask you, Jeff, and we'll swing it around. I'll take the contrarian side here, just not because I really love the under, but because I think you guys are certainly, Jeff, I think you're way too optimistic, and let me tell you why. Now, Dallas, let me say in their favor, last year, and by the way, I'm looking at the stats here, first in total yards, second in passing, fifth in rushing, sixth in scoring last season. And they were 8-8. And they, of course, lost all the critical games they needed to win or should have won. This was a team that did not perform well in the clutch. Now, of course, Jason Garrett, speaking of Jason Garrett, paid the price, and he's gone now from the sidelines. But now the win total is 10 on this team. So getting rid of Jason Garrett, replacing him with McCarthy on the sideline, who, let's be frank here. He had Aaron Rodgers under center, and I'm not sure how good a coach he is. I'm not saying he's a bad coach. I still think McCarthy's the verdict's still out as to whether he belongs in the category of somebody who's going to take this team from 8 wins to 10 or 11 wins. Now, let me get your reaction to that, Jeff.
No, I agree. He did have that one Super Bowl year. Yes, he had Aaron Rodgers. Is Dak Aaron? Well, no, we'll find out. I think Dak is a good quarterback. I think they've got the pieces. So can he rally the troops? Can he do what Jason couldn't, right? You can argue, I think, over Jason's tenure, we were a 500 team, right? Yes, we won, we were 3-0 to start, but then we hit some good teams. Was that the offense? Was that the defense? What caused the breakdown at the end of the year, right? We were only a couple of plays away from winning a couple of games and, defeating and winning the division again. I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see. Yes, the jury is out on Mike McCarthy, but he brings a new optimism. It's a whole new regime. Is it Jerry? People either love or hate Jerry. There is no middle ground. You either love Jerry and you love the draft from the boat, or you hate Jerry because he did his draft from his yacht. And there's no middle ground when it comes to Jerry. He's obviously made the right moves. Arguably, Cowboys are one or of the top, grossing teams, wealthiest teams, right? According to Forbes and whatever, there might be a soccer team that might be above them, Barcelona or something, but they're in the top. So you either love or hate Jerry. Is some of the problems, did Jerry overrule Jason? Did Jason overrule Kellen on a few plays? So yeah, you make a good point. The jury is out. Mike McCarthy does have a Super Bowl ring. So can he do another one? Jason doesn't have one. So Wade Phillips doesn't, has one now, but he didn't have one when he was the coach of the Cowboys. So, he has that pedigree. He's done it. Can he do it again? He's been out of football for a year. He spent a lot of time watching film and studying. Is that year good? Should Jason have taken, when we talk Giants, should Jason have taken a year off before jumping back into the fire? Yeah, so there's a lot of, I have the same questions. I still think we're 12 wins. But you can say I'm shaded with some, blue colored glasses, and that's fine. I'll take that. So we'll have to see. Have me back at the end of the year and see how well this segment lives up. If it ages well come December or January when we hit the playoffs.
Well,
I agree.
None of us, Jeff, are going to age well. Okay, I can tell you that right now. But I will say, very good analysis on paper. I think you're absolutely right about the Cowboys. This is one of the best teams on paper, not just the NFC, but probably the NFL. I'll give you closing words, a few closing thoughts, Eric and Rich, before we move on to the Giants. Eric?
Regarding Mike McCarthy, there's plenty of us out there who think he should have had 2 or 3 Super Bowl wins, not 1. So I'm not sure that really brings a big desired coaching upgrade. I'm not sure it's an upgrade. So we'll see. I think the Cowboys have gotten used to never hitting their potential and never crossing the finish line. And I'm not sure that a head coach is going to change that. I think it's something that's in the players. I think there just seems like a fatal flaw to me, the character and the attitude of that team, because it's something every year. They blamed it on Romo for a while. They blamed it on Garrett. It's just something every year. And I have a hard time believing that it's not the system and the attitude that pervades Cowboys. But if anyone can change it, a head coach can. I don't know that McCarthy is the one to do that. But we'll see.
Rich, final word?
Yeah, I pretty much agree with that. I mean, McCarthy had Aaron Rodgers, and they were like the Atlanta Braves of the 90s. They were contending every year, and you can say, well, gee, this team won all these games. But at the end of the day, they had one championship just like the Braves did. And every year they were in the playoffs or the World Series and came up empty except for that one year.
All right, excellent. Well, let's move on. I'm really glad that alphabetically the Giants are right after the Cowboys, because we did talk quite a bit there about the Giants. This just perfect segue into the Jason Garrett, the offensive coordinator now for the Giants. Rich, you're going to start out here because you're the New York guy. Now, this was a 4-win team, maybe with one of the best running backs, of course, in the game, which was underutilized because they're having to throw every down and because they're behind in so many games. But the Giants, a brand new coach, defense is an absolute mess. Projection there on 6 wins. Somebody's got to win games in this division. So you think 2 questions. Give us your analysis of the Giants, and then obviously the 6 wins. Is that maybe a little too high or low? What do you think?
I'll take it in reverse order. I think the 6 wins. I think that's optimistic. And by the way, it's 6 minus 120. One site had it at, actually, believe it or not, 6.5 minus 150, and then they lowered it down to 6. And as indicated, they were 4-12 last year. Their defense might be a mess, but so is their offense. Barkley is excellent, and I think he's going to work well with Jason Garrett. The word is that he's going to be less horizontal and more vertical as far as his run patterns. They're going to take advantage of his speed and his hands, and they want him moving downfield as opposed to dumping it out to the flat, how he was utilized in the past as far as passing. And there's a price on him, 11-1 to lead the NFC or maybe the entire NFL in rushing. And he's paying 11-1, and that would probably be some value in that bet. But their offensive line is not good. They've got solid guards. They got a tackle, a rookie coming in, starting a tackle, and their center's marginal. I think that Barkley is, to me, they're certainly probably their franchise player. Jones it's his second year. He's got some mobility, which I think he's going to need with that line. Okay. And the other probably key player, if he's healthy, is their tight end, Evan Ingram. Other than that, I'm not so sure about their scoring capability. I saw a very interesting stat and I'm not sure I can explain why it's of great value, but I think it is. After, for whatever reason, Firmer, or was that their coach last year? I think that's who it was. After he was Schumer, rather, was let go. The last 4 games, the New York Giants led the league in pace time, meaning pace time is the time remaining on the snap clock, and they were very efficient in getting plays off, and that could be critical in terms of drive capability and so forth. I think this team really has their work cut out for them. Their defense, in terms of sacks, I think their leader had 11 sacks last year, and they've picked up a little bit of help, but nothing significant. Their linebackers, I would say, are mediocre. Their corners are just weak. So I think it could be a very long year for the Giants. I mean, the good news is they get to play Washington twice, but their schedule is deceptively very hard. They have 9 games where their opponents are projected at 9.5 or higher this year. Of course, Dallas is projected, I think, at 10, and the Eagles at 9.5. So that's 4 games right there. But in addition to that, it's pretty grim. I mean, they've got some tough games. The only weak one, because they play against the AFC Northern, is Cincinnati. And even Cincinnati, who was 2-14 last year, is projected at 6 games this year. They open against the Eagles. So we'll see. I mean, the Steelers, excuse me. As we all know, Roethlisberger played 2 games last year. They ended up 8-8. They're going to get the Steelers on opening night. Maybe that's the time to get them. I don't know. But they're playing some tough teams. I mean, they're playing Baltimore. They're playing Seattle. Then they have the teams within the division. There's not too much easy games there. Those are 9.5 and better. And it seems like all the poor teams that played are getting upgraded. I mean, there's a ton of teams that are going to 8, 8.5, and even 9 that they're playing against. So the only good news again is Washington twice and maybe Cincinnati. And in an off-the-wall creative way, I think it's great looking at their depth chart that their backup quarterback is Colt McCoy, who arguably has the greatest name of any quarterback I've ever heard of in my life. Matter of fact, I should probably ask Jeff, if you were the GM of the Cowboys, how do you not somehow get Colt McCoy as your quarterback, since, Colt McCoy, Cowboys, it'd be a perfect name fit. But that's not going to get them too far. I don't think this team has much depth. They have a very tough schedule. And I think, Saquon Barkley, if he can stay healthy, and with Garrett, I think they'll improve their use of him. And other than that, I'm not optimistic with their schedule. I don't see them winning more than 6 games.
All right, Rich, you did. I tell you what, I'm going to give you an A, maybe an A-. You did your homework for sure. I could tell that, and I think I cut you off. I think you got notebooks there underneath your chair, ready to pull out.
No, I can't. You know what? Guilty, and naturally I can't read my own writing. I forgot the guy's name who had the 11 sacks last year, and then I have some nonsense. I'm sorry to do this to you, but my creative side was trying to think. If you could assign, because we all love music, or at least I know you do know it. If we could assign a band for like a team, I mean, the premier team in football for the last 10 years certainly has been the New England Patriots. And I don't know if the band would be the Stones or U2 or Led Zeppelin, but if I had to assign a band for the New York Giants, it would be question mark and the Mysterians, okay? It was a one-hit wonder in 1966. And the worst part of it, by the way, their one hit was, the name of the song was 96 Tears. So that would be about right.
Oh, that was 96 Tears. Yeah, I know the song.
Yeah, well,
all right.
That's my musical analogy, and sorry for that, but.
Wow. Well, I mean, we're going to do record reviews after the show, so let's just hang around, Rich, and we'll.
Okay.
The greatest hits of 1960s.
Van Morrison. But
okay, we'll do it. Yeah, that'll go all night if we do the Van Morrison. All right, Rich. Well done. All right, not an A-, an A. You got your A, man. Eric Schneller. Try to follow that, man.
Well, first of all, I don't understand
He's smiling
where
here to here. This is a perfect setup.
Rich, you're totally missing the Colt McCoy. He shouldn't go to the Cowboys. He should come to the Colts.
I thought of that too. That's a good point. I actually thought it. That's a natural also.
A minus.
Totally
A minus.
Yeah, you got to downgrade him for that Cowboys thing. So I've got the Giants at 4-12, and I think that's optimistic. I would take the under and put a heavy dose on it. So I think Daniel Jones and Saquon, like he said, that's their big weapons, and they don't have a lot surrounding him. They didn't do a lot in the offseason. Jason Garrett doesn't inspire a whole lot of confidence in me. I don't see a reason to be optimistic. And like Rich said, their schedule is pretty brutal. So I really struggled to get them to 4-12. I think I gave them an optimistic win on one of those. I think it could be more like 3-13. But anyway, so that's where I'm at with the Giants. Otherwise, I think he hit all the high points.
Jeff, as a Cowboy fan, you got to love the fact that the Washington football team and the New York Giants are crappy teams. That's pretty sweet. What do you think about the Giants and 6 wins, though, Jeff?
I agree. I think they'll be less than 6. I don't know what the Bears are going to be like. Starting off against the Steelers. Steelers is a pound and ground and just beat them up kind of team, especially when they play, the Ravens and stuff. So I think having them first is really going to set the tone. Can Joe Judge, a new coach, can he get them ready for the Steelers and that high-powered, not even so much high-powered, that ground and pound, like they move. I think Jason will have a good year with Saquon. I think your top 3 running backs in the NFC is going to be Saquon, Ezekiel, and Christian McCaffrey. Where do they fall? I don't know. They play the Bears. What's Cleveland going to be like? They could eke out a win against Cleveland. It's later on in the season. Cincinnati, yes. I don't know what the Buccaneers are signing everybody. Buccaneers are just signing everybody. Like NFL memes, they had them signing Kevin Durant. They're just signing everybody. So I don't know how they're going to do. So I think they may, I don't know if they'll get to 6. I could see them maybe getting to 5, they might end up, toward the end of the year, they play the Cowboys at the end of the year. If the Cowboys have, 15 wins, they might just let them take one. At the end of the year, they end the season against the Cardinals. I'm not sold on the Cardinals yet. I know maybe I'm the only one, so I don't know. It's going to be close. I think there are some games that they may surprise you.
All right. Well, I'll just say this, that before we go to halftime and a few questions from readers, the comments board is lighting up, gentlemen, because of the 3 of you. I will just say that there's only one word I need to say as to why the New York Giants will stay out of last place in this division, and that word is Washington, okay? So let's move on to our halftime show. We're here on Slapshot. This is our 7th of 8 division preview shows, and we're talking about the NFC East tonight. And we're here with Jeff, Eric, and Rich, our experts talking about football. And we have some comments that some of them I can read, actually. I think, Jeff, you made this observation earlier. Noah Corbin, that's my Atlantic City friend. I remember Noah. He's asking about the Eagles because he's an Eagles fan. And he mentions that, I think you said this also, this is the only team that has, a veteran head coach or a coach that is still with his team with Peterson. So how much of an advantage is that versus the other 3 teams basically redoing their entire, essentially, coaching staffs in the age of COVID? How big an edge of that for the Eagles is that? I'll let you each take this, but Jeff, you start out since you raised that observation.
Yeah, no, I think it's huge because, you can only do, we're doing a Zoom here and it's great, but if we were in the same room, they haven't been able to, get the throws in, the work in, if you're trying to install a new offense, I think there's a lot of pieces. So I think it is a huge advantage to Philadelphia having Doug Peterson already there. Everybody's already in place. Everybody knows the system. Jason's new. Sure, Kellen stayed and that, and Coach McCarthy's letting him do, what he sort of did last year. Joe Judge is new to New York. Jason's new to New York. So I think, yeah, especially in the age of COVID. In a regular year, I might not have thought it was as big a deal because they still would have had a lot of, in-person meetings, in-person practices. But I think in the age of COVID, I think that's going to be huge for Philadelphia, just having that regular consistency.
Eric, you still with us?
I'm still with you.
All right. You talking to the dog?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Any thoughts, gentlemen? We're still in the air. We still have people listening, begging for your wisdom.
I like what Jeff said, and I think when I'm looking at the Giants, you mentioned Joe Judge, who is a Belichick disciple, but he's never been a head coach in the NFL, and I think that chemistry and continuity is critical. It's part of my pessimism towards the Giants that this is new to so many that it takes time to form a team. And I think that's a good comment by Noah from Atlantic City, just that you have that continuity and that history. And I think there's a lot of value in that.
Yeah. Jeff, you've got one more you're coming your way. This is from Paul Wolf, and he makes an observation about the Dallas offensive line. And if you recall, going back into the early 90s, there was this, I think it was an ESPN 30 for 30. It was called The Great Wall of Dallas. Dallas Cowboys have always been known as even back to the Landry days. When I used to have season tickets, I'll remind you, just great offensive lines. It starts in the trenches, and Dallas knows that and has always just had really good pass protection and a solid running game. Now, I think you said this also, the Dallas offensive line may actually be the weakness on this team. How concerned are you about that?
Oh, I'm not. I think they'll be fine. I think they'll be a top 5 offensive line. They don't have Travis Frederick, the quarterback of that line. Lyle is going to miss the first couple of games, so I think but I think they're still going to make holes. My son always laughs whenever they show, when we're watching the draft and they're talking about running backs, and they always cut to Ezekiel, and he goes, even you're an old man, you could run through that hole that line made up for you. So I think there's still going to be holes. I think the teams are going to back off to cover the wide receivers because of our 3 top wide receivers that we're going to have. So I think, we're going to have that rookie at center along with Joe Looney. So I'm not worried about the offensive line, but it's not going to be. Jerry started, years ago, when he first started drafting Travis, Zach Martin, Lyle, he started building the line, and the non-true fans were going, what are you doing? Why are you drafting offensive linemen? But he goes back to exactly what you said, the 90s, running, everyone running, there's only reason Emmett's the number 1 running back in the league is because he had that offensive line. And Jerry said, I got to do that again. So he started drafting the line when, took Zach Martin instead of Johnny Manziel. There's lots of jokes out there that he was never going to take Johnny Manziel over Zach Martin. So I'm not worried about the offensive line. I think that the players they do have, they'll get coached up and they'll be fine, and they're going to make lots of holes for Mr. Elliott.
All right, excellent. Eric, I'm going to – yeah, go ahead.
Let me give you a couple. The one thing I think that's kind of systemic for the NFL that people need to be looking at is there hasn't been any preseason games. So all of those teams that are having a pretty heavy amount of turnover on their offensive and defensive lines, I really think it's going to take them a few weeks to get rolling. So the time to get to Cowboys is those first few weeks, especially when Lyle's out of the game. I think he's off for the first 3 weeks with an injury. But they haven't had a chance to play together. So now's a really good time for those teams that have a solid defense to get after those folks where the offensive line really needs to gel and come together. For instance, Indianapolis Colts, they had their entire offensive line played every game last year. That's almost unheard of, and they're all coming back this year. So I see no reason to downgrade the Colts running game, but I do see a reason to downgrade both Philadelphia's and Dallas.
All right, let me ask you, Dan Walsh has got some questions in here, and I wish I could get to all of them, but he's asking about the rookie wideouts. I think first-round draft choice for the Cowboys, CeeDee Lamb, and also the Eagles drafted, well, I think a wide receiver in the first round, Rieger. So what do you think? You just made an observation, Eric, about the COVID thing where, offenses could start off a little slow. Is this going to hurt the rookie, these rookies at wideouts?
I sure think so. I mean, I think every team that's introducing new players into their system, especially rookies, they're going to have an adjustment period, and there's just no way around it. They haven't been able to do full game speed. They haven't been able to work like a normal preseason game even. So I personally think there's going to be some high scoring games in the early part of the year. And I think that's going to be because of mistakes. I think the defense is going to make mistakes, and they're going to let a lot of big plays happen. And I think the offense is going to screw up enough where there's going to be a bunch of defensive scores. So I'm personally laying a little bit more on overs for a little while for the first few games. But I think that's just because of mistakes. I think there's going to be mistakes made on both sides. And I think if you look at individual players, that they're going to be the ones that are really going to struggle, the new rookies.
Well, interesting observation. That's the first. I think you're the first guest, Eric, who has mentioned going, over on some of the early games. I think that's a minority opinion, which I wish we had more time to get to. Maybe we do it on a later show. But let's talk about the Eagles now. Thank you, by the way, for writing in, Dan Walsh and Noah and some others who posted questions. I really appreciate that. Thank you. And so let's get on to the Eagles' 9.5 wins. We talked about them a little bit here. Rich, you're going to come out of the box first with a comment or a thought. This is a team that won the division last year. People forget that. They won the division at 9-7, and it was a very weak division last year. And they were absolutely decimated with injuries. I've seen some statistics that were just staggering. To think this team won the division with as many injuries as they had is a major accomplishment. I'm not sure the Eagles, now they have some injuries coming into the season, but I'm not so sure that they're not maybe a little bit underrated here. What do you think?
I think that's a fair analysis. I mean, after all, they did win the Super Bowl 2 years ago, and they're injury plagued throughout last year. Therefore, I think the optimism is certainly justified here. And it wouldn't surprise me, by the way, if they repeat as far as winning the division. Sorry, Jeff, but I think I think it's very likely.
Oh, short and sweet. Eric?
I think the Eagles are going to struggle a little bit this year, honestly. I've got them at 8-8. They've already lost 2 of their offensive linemen for the year. The Cowboys, Fredrickson retired, so they had time to accommodate for that. And the other guy's only going to be gone 3 weeks. So here you're looking at 2 offensive linemen gone for this season. You're not that deep for offensive linemen. There's no team that can handle 2 of their best linemen going out. I think that's a really bad omen. I think they've got 5 wide receivers that are all Alshon Jeffrey's been hurt. I don't know that when he's going to come back and play. He hasn't played at all in the preseason. I don't know if he's going to come back, and if he is, how healthy he's going to be. They got Deshaun Jackson, who, has big games here and there, but traditionally doesn't catch a lot of passes, isn't a real big game changer. He's in there and he busts a few plays, and I think he'll do the same, but he's getting older. He's going to have to start slowing down one of these days. I think he could have a couple big games here and there, but I don't think they can count on him as being a clear number 1 receiver. I just think they're okay. And if it weren't for having those 4 guaranteed wins against Washington and the Giants, they'd really struggle. But I've got them at 8-8 and maybe 9-7. But I think 8-8 is the right place for them.
Jeff?
I think they go as well as Carson goes. If he stays healthy, then I think they'll go 8-8, maybe 9-7. I also think that they're going to have a number of plays for Jalen Hurts. So I think they're going to bring him in either to do something or as a decoy. How the Saints how the Saints did with Taysom Hill, right? They would bring him in and they would do something. So I think they're going to have Doug Peterson is gonna scheme up something, right? Look what he did in the Super Bowl with the Philly special. I think so if Carson stays healthy, then they could go 8-8, maybe 9-7, maybe challenge the Cowboys. They have to play the Saints which is going to be a tough game. They've got the other usual suspects that the other team's got to do, Bengals and Rams and Cleveland and whatnot, right? They got that extra tough game against the Saints, being division winners. So, yeah, and I don't count Jalen Hurts. I think that they will have some packages for him, and I can see him, 3, 4, 5 plays a game coming in and doing something. And I think I agree with Eric that at least in the first couple of weeks, yeah, there's going to be a breakdown. There's going to be a wrong assignment by a corner. A corner is going to blitz and thinking there's over the safety top, safety help over the top, and it's not going to be there. And somebody's going to be wide open, or there's going to be something. I think there's going to be some game-changing sort of mistake on either side of the ball in several of the games in the first couple of weeks, probably.
And knowing Philadelphia's schedule, Philadelphia's schedule is just brutal. They've got the Rams, they've got the Niners, the Steelers, the Ravens. These are all outside division. The Seahawks, the Packers, the Saints, the Cardinals. I mean, that is a murderous schedule. So I really think 8-8 is their number.
Yeah, and I think that 9-7 very, very well could win this division. In fact, Dallas and Philadelphia could both end up 9-7 again, and something like that. Or of course, Dallas is 8-8, but I mean, basically, just over 500 may be good enough to win this division. I'll also make the observation that people talk about critics of the Eagles are talking about the losing 2 players on the offensive line. I think it's important to consider.
You froze on us, Nolan.
Are you hearing me? Yeah.
Yeah, I got you back.
Yeah. So I was saying about the timing of injuries, and I think Peterson's a very good coach. He's obviously dealt with adversity. Last year's a great example of that. They won the division with a multitude of injuries. Now, losing 2 players on the offensive line is not a good thing, but it's not as though it's much worse when you lose on offensive linemen, say in game 3 of the season. And then you've got 13 more games to go with a guy who hasn't taken a snap. And if you lose 2 or 3, that's really tough. But Philadelphia's had 2 or 3 weeks, and in cases a month to prepare for this. And it's not like these people that step in are not 2nd and 3rd and 4th round draft choices themselves. I think the Eagles are, at least on paper, are right there with the Cowboys. But you're right, Eric Schneller. Boy, what a tough schedule for the Eagles. So I agree that, if this was a 9, I wouldn't touch it. But you maybe should lay some coin on the under 9.5 if you can find that number. Any last thoughts, gentlemen?
Well, I didn't realize their schedule was that tough, and that is a challenge. And going back to the Giants, they also play Seattle, and they play San Francisco also. But I didn't realize that Philly's schedule was that tough.
Of course, the division common opponents. So let's move on, guys. We got the last team in the division. A lot of off the field controversy with the Washington football team, as they'll be called, until we have another team. 5 wins. Now this team went, I think, they won 2 games last season, I believe. I don't have my notes in front of me. I think they were 2-14 or 3-13, and
I think 3-13.
And a very young team now. Rivera is coming in as a head coach. He's obviously spent all that time with the Carolina Panthers, but I'm not sure he has enough tools in the toolbox to win or do much here. I'm a little surprised this isn't 4.5. I hate to say go under on a total this low. Jeff, we'll start out with you on the Redskins. What do you think?
Are they going to tank for Trevor? I guess is always the big question. I don't know. They've already announced that Dwayne Haskins is going to be their starting quarterback, right? Ron is a great coach. If I couldn't have Mike McCarthy as our coach, I would love to have Ron Rivera. I think he's going to improve that, but they just don't have. I don't think they quite have the talent yet. I think they're missing a bunch of different pieces, and it's going to take him a few years to kind of, get some more draft picks, bring in some more players. I think in 2 or 3 years they might be competitive, but I think they'll be scratching for wins. What do you got? You got 5 for them this year? I don't see 5 wins.
It's jaded to the over. At least it's Spreads.ca out of Canada, which is where you are. So you could bet this if you want to. But so you're getting back +1. What is it? +110 on the under on this.
Yeah.
Is there any chance
I don't
Is there any chance they go 6-10 or better?
No, I don't see 6 wins in here. I barely can find 4 wins. You know, yeah, they play Carolina. I don't know what Carolina's going to look like this year. Again, I'm excluding the common component. Detroit's got Adrian Peterson now. So what does that mean? I just don't see. They got Jacksonville, so they're going to play Tennessee. I just don't see them. I don't see them getting more than 2 or 3 wins. I can even see them going over 2020.
Wow. All right. Bold prediction there. Eric, is Jeff over?
No, I've
overrating or underrating them?
I've got them at 2-14 because of their schedule. But I think there is an outside. I would tell you what, I would be a lot more likely that to pick Washington as an over than I would the Giants. But I think the smart money is going to be on the under. They've still, like Jeff said, they are choosing to go with Dwayne Haskins again. Of the last 11 quarterbacks drafted in the first round that struggled, only 3 of them ever turned out to be any good in their second year. Eli Manning was one, Jared Goff and Mitch Trubisky. And Trubisky's gone back to the pack. So really there's been 2 of them who first-year quarterbacks who struggled, who played, that have turned out to be any good. So I don't think you can put a lot of hope on Haskins. They're starting a rookie running back now who's only played, I think, 33 games total. No. I'm sorry. He's had 33 carries at running back. He was primarily a wide receiver. So they're going to start him at running back. That's going to be a real chore. This team is going to be something that you should be betting a lot on the unders of the games because they have a really strong defense. Their defensive front 7 is monstrous, and they added Young, what's his first name? Chase Young. There we go, blanking on that. They've added Chase Young. I think their defensive front 7 is going to be monster, and I think other teams are going to play ball control and just run it, keep it tight because once they get a lead, there's not going to be any real threat of Washington coming back. So I think this is an under 5-win team, and take the under on the point spreads every week.
Well, thanks for the bonus plays, the under on the game totals of the Washington football team. Very, very good observation. Very astute. Rich Corbin, disagree?
No, I don't disagree. I don't really have a thought contribution other than I expressed how I felt about Jerry Jones. My fantasy would be when Washington plays Dallas that both teams lose.
I have that same wish when Washington, Philadelphia, and New York play each other. It's like, can both teams lose? Can both of them get a loss? That would be. I think one thing that might help Haskins is having Alex Smith back in the quarterback room.
Yeah.
I think that will help him. I don't see him playing this year unless something drastic happens. But I think having him in the quarterback room, I think will help him. But I think they have too many other challenges on offense in order to just looking at their schedule, I have trouble finding 2 or 3 wins.
Yeah, and I've got a lot of. Go ahead, Eric.
I was going to say Alex Smith is one of the best stories you'll ever see. If you haven't seen the documentary on that, absolutely incredible. He's a guy that practically died from his leg injury on the field and never thought he would play again, and he's back now. To me, that would be the greatest story on earth if Haskins gets benched and they bring Alex Smith back in. That's worth 2 wins right there if he comes in. Would love to see that happen.
17 surgeries? At what number do you just give up? At what number? At 15, are you like, okay, that I go to 15? 17 surgeries? I just can't fathom it in my brain.
Yeah. Nolan wrote a good article on him recently. And it'd be an amazing comeback if he plays and does well.
I think that's a really good point where we can all, as bettors and as football fans, we can all agree on one thing. We're all cheering for somebody with the guts of Alex Smith coming back from that. How can you not, when he takes a snap, you want him to do well? At least, maybe not while I'm betting against him, but you got to root for a guy like that for sure. Nice comments there, gentlemen, on the Washington football team. And we talked about the NFC East. We're going to close our show out now by putting you all to the test. We're going to give our predictions here. This is what I do at the end of every single show. I ask all of my guests to give me two things. You're going to be predicting the following. Who's going to play in the Super Bowl? Who's going to win the Super Bowl? Again, who's going to play in the Super Bowl? Assuming we get there in early February of 2021. Who's going to play in the Super Bowl? And then who is going to be the surprise team in the entire NFL, all 32 teams? Who's the team to watch out for? Maybe they don't win the Super Bowl, but they're going to surprise and shock a lot of people and have a much better season than projected. Now, you didn't see this question coming unless you'd seen my show before. Eric, you are a veteran, though, of the broadcast, so I'm going to let you go first while the other two think about their answers.
All right. I'm going to keep my same Super Bowl pick that I gave you before a week ago when I was on. I think it's going to be Kansas City against New Orleans. I don't think I picked a winner then. I'm going to go with New Orleans just because it's been, I think, at least 15 years since the Super Bowl winner has repeated. So I'm going to go with the non-Kansas City pick of the New Orleans Saints. And I am going to change my my team that you might be surprised with. Last time I had Tampa, and I'm now officially on my bandwagon, Miami Dolphins. I think they're going to win the division this year.
Whoa. Wow.
Yep. There you go.
There we go.
You heard it here first, baby.
All right.
I'm on the Peter King bandwagon. He also picked them to win the division. I think he brought me over the edge. So I'm now with the Dolphins at 10-6, win the division, 4 seed in the playoffs. Sounds good to me.
I have a question about that.
Sure.
Which quarterback is going to take them to the playoffs? Fitzmagic, who's never taken a team to the playoffs in his 700 years in the NFL, or the rookie?
It's going to be Fitzpatrick for the first about 3, 4, 5 games, and then they're going to turn it over to Tua, and Tua is going to bring them to the promised land. Brian Flores is going to be coach of the year. Dolphins, baby. Here they come.
Just a second. Before we throw this over to Jeff, and Rich, you're going to clean the bases out, the last comment. Eric, I'm just curious. If you need a bookie, can you give me a call after the show?
You're taking that money, are you, Nolan?
I could use a little scratch going into week 1, man. All right, Jeff, what do you think? Top that bold pick, man.
Well, I'm only going to pick one half of it. I'm only going to pick the AFC side for obvious reasons, because I think everybody in the world can guess who I'm going to say is going to be the NFC entry. And I'm not alone in picking that. Peter Schrager on Good Morning Football, I think, also believes the Cowboys will get there. I think Kansas City will repeat as AFC champions. I think they will lose to Dallas. If for some reason Dallas is not in the Super Bowl, then Kansas City will repeat as Super Bowl champions.
Excellent. A surprise team?
You know who I think it might be is Cincinnati. I just don't know what they're going to do with the new quarterback, with Joe Burrow. So I'm going to go with Cincinnati. I got two. It's either going to be Cincinnati or it's going to be the Jets. The Jets came on. I think the Jets would have made the playoffs last year if Sam Darnold hadn't gotten mono. Yes, they lost Rothby Anderson, but they've picked up some other pieces. So it's either going to be Cincinnati or it's going to be the Jets as my surprise playoff team.
All right, tomorrow night.
Jeff,
go ahead.
Jeff, do you need a bookie?
You take Canadian dollars?
Yeah, good exchange rate too.
Okay, good. Are you doing that on par? Will you give me American on par?
Unlimited odds too with those two teams. Unlimited.
No juice for you, Jeff.
Yeah.
Oh, man. We're going to do the AFC. You guys talked about the AFC East. We're doing that as our final show tomorrow at the same time, so be sure and tune back in at 4 p.m. Pacific time. Rich Corbin, you get to clean the bases off, sir.
I'm still laughing about these comments, and I'm thinking what Jeff said, and Cincinnati, that's pretty astute, I think. I mean, seriously, that team was 2-14. They're projected at 6, and I can see them being a surprise. I'm not good at this, which I think is probably.
Do you need a bookie, Rich?
Everybody here. Yeah, I get a lot of people introducing themselves to me as bookies and asking if I know, if I'm interested in getting down with them. And I always attributed that to popularity and personality, but in as much as I've never had a winning season betting, but it's never stopped me. All right, getting back to the Super Bowl.
All right, Mr. Rickles, continue. Dangerfield, excuse me.
I'm just thinking, Kansas City, Baltimore, played in the finals, and why wouldn't that be a repeat scenario? I don't know. And then I think in the NFC with San Francisco, I'm going to predict that San Francisco wins the Super Bowl.
All right.
And that's and as to a surprise NFL team, I don't have a clue. I don't even want to just pick some marginal team. I really don't. But I have pretty opinionated on San Francisco. So that would be my my choice. I'm just trying to think. It's so hard to go against Kansas City or Baltimore. Those two quarterbacks, in my opinion, are just amazing. They're just incredible. And I think they represent the immediate presence and future of football. I think that is the style that it takes to win Super Bowls.
All right. Good closing comment there from Rich Corbin. Thank you, gentlemen. Really good panel. A lot of fun. And I want to thank each of you for coming on the show, talking about the NFC East. We're going to see how all of our predictions do. Again, really good stuff here. I'd like to ask you each to come back on. We're going to be doing this every week. And so particularly when the Cowboys play, Jeff, we'd like to have you back on, especially from Canada. Like to have you. And then Eric, we may ask you back. I don't know. And then Rich Corbin, when we need some comic relief, you're definitely in the on-deck circle, sir, okay?
Well, I want to hear what Jeff has to say about the Toronto Argonauts, but we haven't heard a CFL comment in the entire episode of the show.
Well, Nick Christensen is watching, and he wrote some CFL stuff. He's a fantastic CFL capper. We were ready to have him come out, and we're going to do a CFL show. Jeff, I know you're into that probably. We'll do some CFL talk back when there's another season. We got to cut it off now, though. And, gentlemen, thank you again for joining me. And final word, Mike Sexton. Don't know if you're watching or you're hearing, but this one's for you, brother. And we're thinking about you. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Well said.